Hey guys, welcome back to the Revive Stronger podcast. I'm your host, as always, Steve Hall, and today I have Andrew Chappell and Steff Noble back on the podcast. We're talking all things natural bodybuilding and specifically the WNBF UK, reflecting upon their year that was the first year of the WNBF UK and what you can expect in the future in 2022. So guys, lots of fun discussion here for coaches and athletes alike. Enjoy. Hi guys, welcome to the Revive Stronger podcast. I'm your host as always, Steve Hall, and today I have Andy and Steff from the WNBF UK back on the show and Pro Prep Coaching, and I'm excited to talk to these guys. I've been talking to them quite a lot and actually spending quite a lot of time with them, kind of on holiday and also competing because the WNBF Worlds just kind of finished like a couple of weeks ago now. The time has flown since that, actually. It's kind of crazy. But I wanted to bring these guys back on, well, just because, and also to reflect upon the season, because we first initially spoke before anything kicked off, and it was kind of what your intentions were, what kind of natural bodybuilding meant to you, and the season's now finished, and I have competed in like all the shows that well, it was the one show you ran, but I've competed with you, and I had the honor of representing the UK at Worlds, and I just wanted to kind of get you on to reflect upon that and also talk about the future 2022, because I think we have a big, obviously, natural bodybuilding audience, and I think lots of them are like, oh, what shows am I going to do 2022 or in the future? So yeah, I guess, did you meet your goals and expectations for this season?
Okay, so first off, Steve, thank you so much for having us back on here to chat about natural bodybuilding and the WNBF UK. You've always been really great to us on the podcast and giving us a platform to spread our love, our passion of natural bodybuilding. So that's the first thing. I'm going to come in straight away with a plug as well for WNBF UK First Timers Championship, first time in history where this has been done for natural bodybuilding. It's the first timers event. That's going to take place next year, 2022, on the 17th of July. And then on the 9th of October, we're doing the WNBF UK Open Internationals. That's the one that you did yourself, and that takes place on the 9th of October. So right away, that's what we're doing there. And I think we can say wholeheartedly, yeah, we met our expectations. I know we made a lot of claims and made our intentions clear right at the start when we did that podcast a few months ago, and people might have said, well, they've bit off a lot, but I think we've achieved it. And I think the fact that we took a team to the Worlds and then we've got 2 shows next year shows that, yeah, we've achieved everything we want to achieve. But I'll pass over to Noble there.
Can I just ask, what defines a first timer, just for the listeners?
Yeah, good questions. Come in here, Steff. Don't let me say.
Somebody who has never competed before.
That's it. First timer.
Okay.
So very first show. Maybe you've been thinking about it for a very long time. You've maybe gone and watched shows and you want to start your bodybuilding journey. That's the first show you would do. So first timers there, of course, is to ensure that it's a level playing field. So everybody on stage there will be first timers. This includes all federations. So, any federation you know of, it's somebody who has never stepped on stage before 2022 on the 17th of July. Yeah.
And just as a slight caveat, for example, if you've done like bikini and then you want to do figure, or if you've done like bodybuilding, you want to do men's physique, and you've been on stage doing those categories before, you're not a first time anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you've been on that stage. So you've been on the stage, that's it. And for this event, actually, because it's a first timers and it's a novice championship going alongside of it, we're going to allow a crossover to take place. So if people aren't quite sure, as I'm sure you know as a coach, what sort of category that they lie in, then we are going to allow you to move up one category. So if you're, say, bikini, you can go up to figure, but you can't obviously make the jump from bikini all the way up to female bodybuilding. Or if you want to come down one category and, I don't know, go bodybuilding to fit body, then you can go that way as well. And that just gives another opportunity for people to kind of work out where they are with the whole thing from there. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, I love that, because again, that makes sense a lot for a first timer as well, who might not be sure. They might have one thing in their mind and then they step on and they're like, actually, you're better suited here. So it gives them as an athlete the best chance of doing well. I guess if they win that or anything, there's no like qualification for further shows or anything. That's kind of their title is that show?
Well, I mean, this is something that we've been thinking about. And do you offer the winner of the competition a buy over to the World Championships or something like that? I mean, we took a team over there. I think we're well justified in inviting people like yourself to take part in the amateur championships, and we are going to have some champions, and maybe we could invite one or two over there. But that's still really much in the planning stages on what we do with that. I don't want to solidify it. But leave your comments down below if you think it's a good idea. That's always a question.
At the moment, they're two standalone events. So the First Timers Novice is a championship in its own right. And the Supernaturals, of course, is an open championships. And we must clarify on that, open to all. A lot of people, we had a lot of questions in this year for the first Supernaturals. Is it only for pros? Is it only for people who have become British champions before? No, it's open to absolutely everyone. It's an open international. And as we grow, we will be introducing qualifiers as the years goes on. But, for your listeners, running these events, it's a huge undertaking, not only obviously for us, but financially as well. And we want to ensure that the quality of the shows is really kept to a high standard. And that, like any natural progression, we will hopefully grow into many more qualifiers as they come. 2 for 22 was the goal. And so something a bit with the first timers, of course, novices alongside that there too. And then of course, the big one, which I hope will be a pretty pinnacle of a natural bodybuilder's calendar for 22 and ongoing, is the WNBF UK, to hopefully solidify that route to the worlds like you did this year, Steve.
I mean, we were super pleased with the WNBF International show, the Supernaturals run last year. I think we were the biggest finals on the natural bodybuilding calendar last year, which is amazing that we managed to get as many competitors to that, and then told us at the WNBF Worlds, I think we took the largest team ever of athletes.
Oh, wow.
This year from representing the UK. The UK. Yeah. So they were super stoked with that we've managed to do all that. And people have got no idea what we put into doing that show. Literally, the announcement came from a previous organization that they were no longer going to be with the WNBF. We were like, oh my God, we could be with the WNBF ourselves, because we didn't want to give that up. And literally overnight, staying up until 4 or 5 in the morning for night after night, built a website, signed contracts, organized venues, got things in place. I'm surprised I've not got more grey hairs, but I think it's been quite a nice. We pulled it off. Yeah, I suppose from the last podcast we did with you, Steve, which I remember so well, talking about the vision that we had for WNBF UK. And I think the level of detail that goes into sort of building something like that is so much more than you anticipate it to be. And so by the time we got round, of course, to the final weeks coming in, it's almost like, oh my gosh, this vehicle that you've taken on is going to become a reality, and will it play out the way you vision it? And I could not be more happy with how the WNBF UK went, because a huge, at the center of this was the culture that we wanted to build, and having a team of people backstage, having a team of people at the show who could make every single competitor feel part of something that was just really friendly, welcoming, but professional in delivering a stage that they could really feel like they were being judged fairly on, with great set, good lighting, fair judging. And I think we really did achieve that. The time we spent in making sure the setup for every detail, from registration right the way through, from the services that we were offering in terms of the tan, the hair, the makeup, right the way through to coming in, being in a good space backstage, being shown where to go, the pump up, to then exiting onto a stage with a fantastic set and a feeling of the WNBF, the World Natural Bodybuilding status, which was really, really important to me, especially in the UK, to have kind of put down there. I think we really delivered on that. And the feedback we've had has been
been really, really great in sort of solidifying those key things that we wanted to set out as part of the mission to make sure WNBF UK had that presence. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but we really did manage to pull it off. And with the highest level of drug testing that I think we possibly could manage on that particular event, which was, of course, the pinnacle of this as well, is making sure that every athlete was given clear understanding and expectations of what would happen on the day. And we've excelled in our quota for that. And that's only going to then be raised the bar for next year as well, with upgrades to our polygraphing as well, which we're in talks with at the moment. So from top to bottom, the key things that we wanted to provide, I think we managed to do. But there's always room for progression, and there's always room for bettering.
For sure.
Yeah, anything to...
No, I'll let Steve come in here. I mean, how was your experience as an athlete? I mean, did we deliver on our intentions that we set out? That's my question for you, I guess.
Without blowing too much smoke up your ass, yes. I might be biased because I obviously got to experience the whole lot, and I had an amazing time in Vegas, and I obviously was really happy with the placing and everything. And but overall, my experience as an athlete, having done, like, I did 6 shows this season, and that was definitely up there with the best shows in terms of how it ran, the communication, those key aspects when you are signing up for a show, so that you're not kind of questioning things and you're unsure about stuff. Like there wasn't that. And then the show day itself, I was actually, I'll be honest, a little bit concerned because of that venue, because I had competed there and it was quite small. But actually, I don't know how you did it, but you had more space actually than what it was previous, and it actually ran very smoothly and wasn't a problem. And it was a really fun day for me.
I mean, I think that's testament to the backstage crew. I mean, we fronted the organisation, obviously, but we had got such a good team of people in every different department, and that makes such a difference to running it. And then, like, the guys backstage, they're all professionals that run management companies and logistics and stuff like that, but they just happen to be our friends and they love bodybuilding. And on the side, they were like, backstage, are like, "No, Andy, don't worry, we'll take care of it. This is how we're going to do it. We understand where the bottlenecks and everything like that are going to be." And they just took charge of the situation and made it all run as smooth as it could be.
Yeah, and I think I echo what you mean about the Crescent Theatre in Birmingham. You know, it is a wee bit of a rabbit warren. There's lots of spaces, lots of places people could get lost. And I think, you know, one of the things we wanted to ensure that we did, and we're going to be doing this with our up and coming venues, is actually going and walking around and physically mapping out where people are going to be, what they're going to be doing at what times. We took our team down there the day before. We did a full run round team.
That made a
huge difference. And it's just things like that, so that, you know, on the day of a bodybuilding show, and of course, I'm sure other federations have, you know, over the years have honed their system, so to speak, you know, where we just wanted to kind of start getting to grips with a format that will work with a group of people that feel comfortable in almost their roles backstage, because it is essentially, and that being as efficient as it can be, so that the show can run on time, so that we can ensure that, you know, each class got the amount of time. And I hope you felt that you got enough time to be judged there, Steve, to give plenty of time on stage, so not to be rushed, and to really just enjoy that experience from both sides of it. Backstage is just as important as being on stage, because it's keeping you calm, it's trying to keep you focused. You don't want too much kind of ambiguity of when you're going on or what's going on. And so that was kind of quite key for us as well, is to make sure that the backstage element was as efficient as it could be. So I'm glad that you found that better from previous maybe times you've been at Crescent. And I've competed there myself as well, so I know exactly what you mean. So it's all in all, from the second to sign up, the efficiency was really key for us, right through the website, clear communication, and feeling like, okay, I'm coming to this show with all my ducks in a row. That's what we wanted. So long may that kind of draw into this next year's season as well.
I think it's just the little things, like being able to book everything on the website, like the tanning, the photos, like everything's just there. Mm-hmm. And also being a reasonable price, but just because I've seen other federations, like they can charge a lot for these things, and I think that's all very appreciated too. And everything ran really smoothly. It's always nice to have people backstage who seemingly want it. Like, I imagine people ask really annoying questions. I imagine I even asked probably some annoying questions, but they all are very happy to hear it. And again, it's about that show day experience. I guess my only personal preference is for what they call live judging. That's my personal preference versus a morning and evening show. And then actually I had a question for you guys. I don't know if you had any thoughts around that, but also you did height classes for some classes, but obviously at Worlds it was weight. So I don't know if you had any thoughts surrounding that.
Well, the reason we did that, it's something that it's a isn't it? People have all the time, but the reason that we wanted to do that is because whenever you introduce the sort of the weight classes, what typically happens is that people try to undercut their weight and they try to do like extreme things to get into weight classes, and then the next day, what happens is they end up they eat up or something like that from there. And then there's some papers on this actually that people have suggested that this sort of thing should be against like the WADA rules, like because if you got a day before weigh-in or something like that, then you could be 5, 6, 7 pounds heavier than our people, and it's not fair. So as soon as you introduce like a height class thing, it just eliminates any of that. You just get rid of that completely. And I know some people have got a preference for weight classes, but that's just how it's going to be. And some people are going to always have a preference for the weight classes. At the Worlds, the WNBF, they do it by weight class. And I knew that was going to be the case. So, I mean, I think we sent out the email before saying to all the guys who are taking part, like, guys, just so you know, it will be a weight class situation when you're going over there, although we are doing the height classes. And you could debate it, but that's our rationale and our reasoning for it. I think that's fair. Try and get more fairness across the board. Do you know, from an organizational perspective as well, it will make it easier for us in the future, because if you enter the show, Steve, in the future, I know what height you are. so now I know which category you're probably going to be in. And then I can sort of say, okay, well, I'm not going to grow. These guys are going to be like, I don't know, 173 to 175 or something like that. And we can plan it out a little bit easier from doing that as well. Because weight always changes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
No, definitely. I don't not thought about it from a kind of fairness perspective in terms of people cutting weight, because I have heard of people doing that, and it's like, it's a lot that they can get off.
Yeah.
But I more thought about it from like a health perspective, where people are like, they almost diet down more than they should, and it doesn't bring about their best look. Whereas with your height, you just diet to your best look versus trying to achieve something else. Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do, that exact thing on there. Again, people will debate it and not debate it, but that's just the way we sort of went to do it. And it was just trying different things, because most of the time it's weight class, isn't it?
I think it really helps the judging as well, because when you're looking at the symmetry and you're all the same height, you can actually really distinguish quite clearly across the lineup, you know, where muscle belly insertions are, you know, torso to leg length, everything in there kind of, you could argue that there is it slightly helps the judging aspect of that, particularly in that first round, the symmetry round. So we had a long debate about that beforehand, and we decided that was a fair way of doing it, and certainly the way we wanted to do it this side of the pond. But there are other elements of what they do at the Worlds that we will be bringing a little bit back of into next season. Cool. For example, some corrections to some posing. I think that there is some differences, you know, when you get to the States in the way in which they like to see things. So I had quite a big conversation with Bob and Tina about the requisites for the posing when it gets to world level. So I think we'll be bringing some of those into the criteria for certain classes, particularly bikini, men's physique and things next year as well, just so that's more linear. Yeah,
because you don't want your athletes to be at a disadvantage. Whereas they're not really at a disadvantage with a height thing. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
Whereas the posing, you want it to be uniform across there. We also had the new concept that said we were going to experiment with, which was the the classical bodybuilding round, the golden era round.
That threw people
you
off.
got to do it. You got to do it, Steve. So like,
how did you find it?
How did you find it?
I'd practiced, so I had my poses like dialed. As you imagine, I'm that guy. Like I worked on everything that I could possibly. So I already knew what I was going to be hitting. But I watched a few classes where the guys were kind of like, I've not got a clue.
Masters were the best. Like they came out and they're like, we've got to do what?
I think my favourite reaction was Steve Howarth in the Masters 50 class. And shout out to Steve, because I think this was actually his last season, and he, for all of us in the natural bodybuilding world, is a bit of an inspiration. Yes, he's kind of one of those people you look at and just go, you still bring it every single year.
The ageless Steve Howarth. Like
he just to be on the WNBF UK stage, Steve being up there was a special moment for me, because he was one of the very, very first people that inspired me to get into the sport. So it was a really nice 360. But I loved his reaction when we said, right, and now the golden era round. And I think he actually burst out laughing. And he was so tired by that point. He was just flinging them around. And but I kind of like the essence of it, because it brings the creativity back and it gives bodybuilders some snaps and to be able to see themselves in shapes they maybe never would have ever considered, and some of the footage and some of the stills that we've got from those classes are phenomenal, absolutely brilliant shapes that really allowed some of the creativity to come out and passion for bodybuilding, I thought.
What was nice as well is that the guys that did really well in that round were not necessarily the same guys that did well in the other rounds. So I think in the overall for that Mr. Golden Era, we had Charlie Neal, who I think was third in
my class,
your class, and then we had Ryan Sapstead, who was, I think he was fourth in the tall class, but he managed to get through that Golden Era round. And you know what? Fair play to him, because
his classical poses were fantastic.
You can see he put the work in, and those two guys deserve to be in there amongst those other class winners from the round. And our overall winner for that was the chap Samuel Hartman. What a great poser he was! I mean, great example of the.
Now, where did Samuel Hartman come from? Right, boom! Like the photos don't do Samuel justice. I mean, he was quite special, very, very special to watch.
Was he a junior?
Junior.
He was,
crazy.
So much potential. Beautiful, like full muscle bellies, lovely shape, really, really nice competitor to watch bring something pretty special. And I think that leads us on actually quite nicely to the standard. The standard on the day across all of the classes really was quite special, and everything that we really hoped for when we're talking about the WNBF. Level of conditioning, muscularity. Some of the female classes as well, the fit body class was something special. So it was really nice to see the natural talent show up for that first event, because set the bar very much so.
You know what though, it played out when we got to the Worlds, and the feedback we got from Nancy, the WNBF president, was that all of you guys, when you got to the Worlds, she was like, you were all so polished, we presented really well, you have a great standard across the team. You guys should be really proud of yourself, that the whole team, because you all presented so well and so professionally. And that's why, I mean, Steve, you did so well out there at the Worlds, and the team did so well out there at the Worlds.
Hey, Pascal here. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about our membership site. Inside, you'll find a thriving forum, an extensive exercise library, courses, presentations, and research reviews. All I need you to do is hit the link in the description below and sign up.
I appreciate that a lot. I know I sent some of the lineup photos to Brett Freeman, who I know you guys know, who I'd been kind of chatting back and forth with, and he'd been helping me a little bit. So he looked at the photos. He was like, "This is world standard," and that's actually something I was reflecting on. Is like a few people asked me, like, how did you go from fourth at the qualifier for Worlds to second? And I mean, it's just, I mean, I did improve. I think I did improve, but I don't think if I'd taken the same physique to Worlds, then I still would have come second within that kind of lineup. I don't know. I think I improved that much, and that just spoke kind of a lot towards the UK talent. And just the difference that can happen, like who turns up, especially at a world event, like with COVID, the expense, the travel, everything like that.
Of course, but I think you can play yourself a little bit, because I think from when you went to that World Championships, I know you went and did another show in between, but you tweaked some things, and that did make a difference in the way that you posed, and that made a difference to the way that you presented yourself, and it got you really close to potentially beating that guy. I mean, I remember said to you backstage, I was like, Steve, you could win this. Like, you're so close. And I wasn't bullshitting you. Like, I was like, no, you're in with a shout, you're really, man. And it was kind of that classic apples and oranges of what are the judges going to go with on here, and you want them to go with you, but they went with the other guy on the day, and a different panel of judges might have gone the other way there. Mm-hmm. One thing they like in the States is they like the size.
That I was going to ask if there was, like, I guess it's different judging panels as well. It's different preferences. I don't know if they're older or if they're younger, because they were quite a lot of the judging panel there, I think, were a bit older than maybe the UK judging panel. So it's always interesting this is the subjectivities of the sport. Something you provided that other organizations haven't, I think, was like the scorecard. So you could actually see how many points you had. What do you think you're going to provide that again? And are you going to make any changes to, like, how you provide judging feedback or anything like that? Because as a competitor, to get judges' feedback is, like, obviously I know this as a coach, it's not always helpful for the competitor from the judge, depending on what it is. But I think as a competitor, you always want feedback. So it's always nice to get it, even if you're like, they say something and it's just like, I don't know, you need to come in, I don't know, they give you like, you need to come in bigger, but more shredded or something like this. That's just not helpful. So it's just like, okay, I need to get better in future. But is there anything you're thinking for future? Did you get anyone kind of giving you feedback on that element?
Yeah, this is a big topic, the feedback thing, as you can imagine, because you've got to balance it against the judges being able to do it and everything like that. But did you like getting the scorecard? That was one thing.
I did and I didn't. Like, it was good to see it, but I also was like, oh, damn, I was quite far off the top three. Yes, I did.
Yeah. I mean, you can take something from it, can't you? I suppose the most primitive, basic form of feedback you get is a score. The next level of feedback is you get the total that you're getting from there, and then everything you get after that, I suppose, is qualitative, like you were just talking about there. I think that the feedback we got about giving it the scores was overwhelmingly positive. People seem to like it because they were able to at least distinguish between, okay, well, at least how close was I to third place, or how close was I to second place, and stuff like that. And it allows you to go, right, okay. From there,
that alongside the video that we did afterwards, just as a recap, I know that was maybe not so much. I think we're going to develop that more into feedback next time, because we did it as a recap rather than delivering individual feedback. So I think we're going to develop on that. But then the third sort of way we did that was individual people asking for feedback. We put them into contact directly with the judges judging their class. And that was delivered through, obviously, individual feedback methods, just telling them what they can improve on, which I know a lot of people have had through our judging panel. And that was part of the training we did with the judges to prepare for feedback afterwards. So we will be developing on that a little bit further as well.
Some conversation. I mean, I spoke about this with the other affiliates, and there were some interesting ideas on how to do it. What I will say is, when people come to you after the show, it's not always the best time to sometimes even get feedback. If you've just looked at 200 athletes, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone, sometimes it can be difficult to remember every single competitor, and sometimes you can just get that generic feedback that you were talking about, where like they're racking their brain to remember who you are. So if you're coming with to get feedback, sometimes it can be useful to have pictures to jog the person's memory, and then they can go, oh yes, I remember as well. And speaking to some of the other affiliates, some of them have said, like, sometimes it's good to give feedback on that you maybe didn't win this shot compared to that shot compared to someone else, and you feedback based on the judging poses.
I think, and Teresa, the German affiliate, gave some interesting feedback on that, where she said, a lot of people want to be, say you come fourth or fifth, a lot of people want to be compared, right? Well, why didn't I win? When really the comparison should be, why have I maybe not placed third at that point, or fourth if you're fifth, obviously, and seeing, not making the kind of jump straight there, but actually what we can improve on in the interim here. That was one thing she was discussing, which I thought was pretty valid. the other thing she was discussing was to talk about to the person who's requesting it, that it should be an exercise you do with your coach.
Yeah.
Take the photographs away, sit down with your coach and really go through an analyzation process of you standing in that lineup from every single angle, and put the onus on them to do the work a little bit more, to consider, analyzing themselves and critiquing themselves to make them a better bodybuilder, to see why and to understand judging a bit more thoroughly. I think that's also a pretty good piece of feedback as well. So it's like a mix, isn't it? It's getting some comments from the judges, not being disheartened, because bodybuilding is a sport of competition. There has to be winners and there has to be losers. And I say losers not in a negative way, but you have to go away and, of course, consider that you're not going to always win, and that's okay. But we have to go away and improve and get better. Yeah.
What was interesting actually is the amount of people, when we put out the scores, was the amount of people that didn't actually seem to understand how it was scored. And if I could give
more points, better.
Like that, you get how it's broken down into rounds from there. And if people understood that section a little bit better, and genuinely coaches as well, and some people that I've been on a panel with in the past that don't understand necessarily how to score the rounds as much. But if people can improve on that aspect, then they'll understand how they got the points a little bit better, and that can help them do that exercise that Steff said. As well.
And that's something we're going to do quite a bit in next year. I know before we started this call, Steve, we were talking about what events we're doing next year. In between the shows next year, we're going to be doing a couple of a South and Midland and a Southern, almost like a hot weekend of training, education, posing. And part of that will be delivering really behind the judges table. This is the rounds, this is how they're judged, this is what they look like, and this is what we're expecting. But then it's an opportunity as well for people to get together, raising awareness of natural bodybuilding, learning maybe new approaches, new principles, talking training, and just really building more of a community around natural bodybuilding. Yes, the competitions are awesome, and they are something we all drive towards, and we build great connections through them. But what else can we do to really support natural bodybuilding as a whole, and welcoming people like yourself in to do, to talk about it, and coaches in the industry, and really trying to get more people interacting with natural bodybuilding, I think is a huge mission of ours. So that side of things, like understanding judging criteria, is massive. A lot of people don't really understand the rounds properly. And then when they suddenly start to twig, it's like, oh, okay, I've got a purpose in each round. There's certain things I need to do, and that might even tweak your posing between the rounds as well. So there's lots that can be offered out there as additional information.
Does that answer the question on feedback, do you think?
Yes, and I really appreciate the education that you're trying to provide on that specific thing, because I think a lot of, if I just take like a male bodybuilder, they just think I just need to get shredded and pose okay, but they don't really understand what they're specifically being judged on and how that's going to impact things. And then it could, I don't know, for some people make them emphasize spending more time on posing or really making sure they're bringing their condition, because that's always where they fall down on. So I think that sort of education, and then the community aspect, I can already say, at least Pascal was saying, and he said to say, you guys have done a wonderful job, because he was watching from the outside on Instagram and everything, how it just felt like the UK team was really like a team, and he wanted to be there with us. And I think you guys did a great job of bringing that community together. And I love the idea of kind of having those odd spots, because natural body is a tiny niche that we have. So it's lovely to have just weekends where there's a bit of education, a bit of social time, and then some posing. I guess that'll be open to not just kind of people who are competing that year, but anyone who wants to just come in. So coaches as well, I think, would benefit from that too.
Everyone. And I think, I love going to things like that. You meet people, you learn, you grow as a competitor, you are inspired by other people's mindset. It's just a really nice way of becoming more involved in the fitness industry if it's something you're passionate about. And you gain so many opportunities from going to things like that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wouldn't have got to where I am without going and putting myself in amongst people and learning things and finding out what I'm passionate about. And I think this is what we'd like to try and offer back a little bit more of. Yes, come do the shows. Of course, the shows are we want to give you everything we can in terms of a stage perspective, but let's try and also collaborate with other people who are doing great things in the natural bodybuilding world, and make it more prolific and expand it to more people. Because we know, Steve as well, there's so many people who still don't know about natural bodybuilding. There's so many. And it's still amazing that, I come across people like, what's that? What's natural bodybuilding? I didn't even realize it was a thing. And in this day and age where health, wellness, doing things, for sure. To protect their well-being is a really important thing. And I think that's something we're trying to achieve.
We're all aware of the recent spate of unfortunate incidents within the untested side of the sport. And natural bodybuilding is just a great example of how you can have an awesome physique, you can look amazing and not take the same risks. Yeah. So it should be celebrated, and having these events and having community meets are great ways to do that and inspire other people around you.
And have some fun. That's why we have to remember that. Yeah.
I think that's what made that's my prime reason why I wanted to actually qualify to go to Worlds was to be there, to experience like all the people that I knew were going to be there and interact with everyone. And that's why I think that weekend was so special to me, because there was just that community that, I don't know, like we said, it's such a small community. So when we can get people together, there might be someone you meet who you're like, oh, actually, you're quite close and you can become gym partners, or I don't know. It can bring all sorts of connections. So I love the idea of, you said one kind of, you're looking to do one in the north and then one in the south.
Yeah, like we were hoping to do a north weekend and a south weekend, possibly some for the Scottish guys up here. I know there's a lot of people up here and it's sometimes challenging, but definitely the north and the south. We've already got a couple of our current champions on the ball with starting to organise these things. And we're about to launch, I'm going to shout out Leon Mitchell here, who was team captain, of course, for the WNBF
What
UK.
a really nice guy.
And what an amazing sportsman. Yeah, great guy. He's going to be alongside a couple of other hosts launching our WNBF UK podcast in the next coming weeks. So we're hoping to have people like yourself and other people who have been on the WNBF UK stage and other people who want to be part of this to jump on the podcast. Again, more value, giving more people information, telling people their stories, where they've come from, why they want to bodybuild, what this is all about for them. Because I think, again, the more people share their stories, the more it might kind of allow other people to think, oh, I'm going to have a go at that. It's, it's...
people should have a go, and that's why we've got our first Timers Championship.
Yeah.
Come do it.
So, it's an all-encompassing thing. The WNBF, it means a hell of a lot to me and Andrew for obviously reasons of our own athletic pursuit. But to be able to now be in a position to offer stages and other opportunities for people is fantastic. Because the natural bodybuilding, as you say, is so small, and the more of us that can be involved in it and, working towards a really good culture network of people, the better. Yeah.
I love the idea of a podcast. Obviously, I'm biased. I run a podcast. But that's partly why I wanted to spread awareness for like education and for like how to go about things the best way, but also try and spread natural bodybuilding. And we've done like segments of like Ask the Athlete. So we get on athletes and like talk it through. But I think ideally it would be a separate, like you might be doing something similar to that. And I love that idea of kind of interviewing people, talking about their experience, why they love it, and building that awareness. And that's what I think is great about you guys. It's not about you and building up like the WNBF specifically. It's just like, we want to grow natural bodybuilding as a whole. If we grow alongside that, that's amazing. But the ultimate goal is just to bring everything else up.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. That's what we're trying to do.
The expression, a rising tide lifts all the ships, doesn't it? I mean, that's the thing,
That's it.
There's nothing better than giving people opportunities as well. Nothing better than that.
So,
I was just going to say, do you have offhand how the UK did at Worlds? And does it work like the Olympics? Like you get a certain number of... Do you the UK like win like the gold at the Olympics?
Unfortunately, I feel like Spain probably won the gold.
Spain did very well.
So good. But if Spain won the gold, we were at least silver, I feel. because we had so many great athletes in the amateurs. We took medals in like every single division, and we had first places as well across.
Yeah,
us.
I mean,
so Steph's got it broken down here.
A little rundown, and we took a team of 22 out,
which is awesome.
And so we returned home with three new WNBF pros, an overall pro champion, two top 3 pro champions, 2 top 5 pro champions, 4 amateur world titles, 5 amateur top 2s champions,
and amongst there, Steve,
4 amateur top 5 champions.
Yeah.
And then a whole team of, natural potential just ready on the cusp to keep going. So for our first team to go out, and I really do, going back to what we said about natural talent, I really do think the team set their mark in terms of their presentation. The professionalism of the UK team was phenomenal on stage. And I sat screaming for every single one of them. Every single one of you guys came out and worked, like really worked to showcase that you deserved to be there, and all of you were strong in those lineups. So you did us proud, but you've done the UK's natural bodybuilding scene proud. You are now people that are, people coming through WNBF Uk are going to look up to.
You're all role models.
I want to do what they've done. Go to Vegas with WNBF UK and showcase the best of British. And it's such a cool thing to be part of, like you said. So yeah, very, very good outcome for us guys over in the crazy world of Vegas. I mean,
yeah.
I think if you were ever to put a ton of very, very tired at the end of their season bodybuilders into the most overstimulated place,
just flashing lights the whole time.
I mean, we were kind of like wowed by it. So you guys at the end of your season, just going into that was something pretty special.
That would have made me crab it for sure.
I think that the team trips to like the only supermarket in amongst crazy casinos and everything else was quite challenging actually, but I think you all pulled it off pretty well. And I suppose where else, it was a pretty good place to be for the post-show fun at least. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. From my perspective, first of all, being able to like I said to you guys, I'm not even fond of flying, traveling a long way. Yeah. Even if I was on my own, because I had my best friend with me, which was great. But even if I was on my own, because I could like book a flight with you guys and you organized that so we could all come together, leave together. There was like, you organized breakfasts for the team to be able to have. So even if I wasn't able to have other people to be kind of secure with in a sense, even if I was a sole traveler, I think you made a great effort to make everyone feel involved and part of something. So you felt secure and like it, which is going to allow the best talent to go, because some people might be discouraged if they're just on their own and they don't feel able.
We had a few lone guys, and I think they really appreciated that aspect, which is good, really good. And so ready to do it all again in LA next year.
LA
slightly further. I would love to go. If I felt like I could bring something better, I would, but I know I need some time to.
That's a good question, isn't it? Can you get better from the last time to go again? But it sounds like you've made a decision on that already. Just come out and watch, Steve.
Oh, I very may well do. I've spoken to a few people where like we might use Worlds as just a holiday, because it was all like, it was that fun to be there and be part of it. So maybe I can get some athletes there and I can have an excuse to be there for work. So that would be nice. But from my perspective, the holiday was great after I had a few days afterwards, but that weekend ultimately is right up there in the top, like, 2 weekends of my life. It was absolutely amazing. The whole event. It was fantastic. And actually I was going to ask you guys, because you're obviously coaches as well. So I think you'll come from this maybe from a slightly different perspective than just like organizers of this. Obviously, if you go pro, I think with the WNBF, you have to compete every second year at least to hold that status. How do you feel about that? Because I can imagine, I don't know, at least from my angle, if someone's, I don't know, gone pro and they're quite early still in their career, that could possibly hold them back. I don't know if you've had any thoughts on if they need more time to make progress, or if you think that's an appropriate timeline, if you feel comfortable to say.
It's a good question, Steve. Do you know what? I think that rule is more set up for competing in the States, where there's more opportunity to compete as a professional. It definitely suits over in the States much more so than
because they have more shows.
Because there's more opportunity to go and compete. I mean, for someone like me who's been a pro for a long time, it makes sense for me to go and do that, because I can be competitive in these pro ranks. But I can totally get the perspective from someone who's just started out and maybe needs to take more time to build the seat. Because some guys, it can be a bit of a curse rather than a blessing, getting that pro, and there's a big debate around that as to whether some guys should take that pro card or not. Good question.
It is a good question. I mean, it does provide a bit of pressure. That maybe some people, it, like Andrew said earlier on in their career, maybe they've just turned pro and they've got a lot of developing to do, which puts them under kind of a bit of pressure to compete. I mean, I think I understand it from the organization's point of view as well, to keep pros active, to keep people competing, and to keep testing yourself, because I guess when you take a lot of time off, sometimes you can not get complacent, but you forget really where you need to go in terms of your standard. So I think it challenges you to get into the ranks. And this is something we say to our guys all the time from a coaching perspective. There's nothing better than the experience of competing. Compete and do the shows and learn and grow and take the wins, take the losses, take the the in-betweens. It's all part of it. And competition, you can get something from it at all different stages.
But you shouldn't be scared of it. Yeah,
you shouldn't be scared of it. But if you wait till you think you're your absolute best, and then you've not competed, and it's an evolving journey, isn't it? Bodybuilding. You're never ever going to be your best. You're always trying to get better and better and better. So I understand why they have the rule. And if I come at it just purely from my own perspective, you have to challenge yourself amongst the best to get better. That's where I kind of come at it from. So
I think we were vindicated though in those pro cards that we gave out. I mean, if you look at Josh Grogan, he was awesome. He was right in the mix. If he does a year off and comes back again, he could be challenging for that world title. I asked Josh what his nickname was, and he told me something that was like Craig or something like that, or something really like unattractive, like a gremlin or something like that. I was like, no, Josh, you're now called Hollywood, right? So Josh Hollywood. So here's a great example. Harry Ransom, I think he'll be super competitive in a pro ranks. He'll be just like Josh when he goes. I think Chelsea again, she's perfectly set up to be competitive in that fit body class in the future. She's a top 5 contender within a year or two. Sam did
very well. She got top 5 in her very first pro show, which again that's something you've got to go away with and go, okay, so if you're there, you've got a couple of years now. Do you want to come back and really push for that top 3 and see how you go from there? And and then Leon and Lucy, I think both of them were probably 6 in their class, and they just missed out, both of them, in those occasions. So if they have a year off and they come back again within that 2-year period, they'll be competitive as well. But we're talking about a worlds here. If they went and did more pro shows on the circuit, it's just the problem is there's not as many pro shows in the circuit in Europe, then I'm sure they would be competitive within those lineups, absolutely as well. That's one interesting point though, and it's something we are going to make our community aware of, that the WNBF UK opens up huge doors because we have a lot of European shows. A lot. And I don't think anyone realizes actually how many opportunities they have across, just only a couple of hours away. In Spain, Germany, France, Switzerland do a pro show every year. And I think what we want to try and do is, yes, of course, we are the WNBF UK. We want to get everybody to the UK shows, but to also show amateurs and pros, you can go and do a little miniature European tour if you want to go and do that. Because I know, us as bodybuilders, if you love competing, you want to know what's on your doorstep. And the more exposure we can give of these European events, we spent a lot of time with the European affiliates in the world talking about cross promotion of our events so that people can go and just compete and really show themselves on different playing fields. So I think we want to make sure people have more opportunity and know what's available to them. So that's something we're going to be putting out a calendar of once we get into the new year.
I love that.
Is here's what's going on in France, Spain, Switzerland, Germany. You know, even further afield, we had a couple of clients do the Dubai WNBF shows and come and meet us at the Worlds this year. That was awesome. So, you know, people don't realize how big the WNBF family is.
It's the biggest in the world.
And yeah, and when you know, I've posed quite a few clients from the US that I got to meet over there, and it's just awesome.
From Canada, I think actually.
Yeah.
So I've got a t-shirt on, you can see.
The Canadians were cool. So yeah,
Leo was awesome.
You know,
yeah, he's really good.
this is it. If you think of it as there are opportunities in countries all over the world that you have access to, as long as you get the go-ahead by your host country, like some of the French came over, like some of the Spanish guys, the Italians came over to us. We just go to their affiliate and say, this guy has come along and wants to do our show. Are you okay with that? Has he got a membership with your country? Awesome. You can come over. So as long as the membership is within that country, or, you know, you've got a membership with us, you can go and compete abroad in these countries as well. So we will be putting that on the map for people to consider as well.
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service that will take your physique and knowledge to the next level. If you're interested, check the description and sign up. I don't know why the membership thing's just flagged one thing in my mind. It's probably for a chat us to have afterwards. I was like membership benefits, like you could do like discounts to the seminars if you're a WNBF member.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's a good point. Like, I mean, because it's a good point.
And that's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about. Is the membership really cool. Gives you more opportunities, more things to come and be involved in. So yeah, we're on the wave. We're on the same wavelength. Yeah.
It's interesting though. You talk about this being such a great weekend, Steve. I was obviously there, and you'll appreciate this, with Steff, and we're hosting the event and taking the British team over there. And then we had our own team of athletes there. So we had 7 from Pro Prep there. As well. And what was great, I mean, I love coaching, and bodybuilding has been so great to me in terms of what I've been able to get out of it. But I was in one of the hotel rooms with one of my guys, like about 5 a.m. before the show, right? And he turned around and he said to me, he's like, Andy, you've got like the best job in the world. He's like, this is literally your office, and Caesar's Palace is at the end of the place. And I was like, well, you're right, actually. It's a pretty sweet deal, because not only do they get to prep their own guys, but I've got to help out all you guys as well. Like, I've got to help you guys with some posing stuff, and I hope you all appreciated that. And
makes the hard work worth it, right? When you're standing there and you're going, okay, this is a highlight of all the hard work.
Yeah.
Like, it's a challenge. But
I joked like with one of the other guys, like, I started the season thinking Huddersfield and like ended in Las Vegas.
Lovely. By the way, on the question of the pro question that I had, I think you answered that really, really well.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Because I think it's the key there for me is earning a pro card and making sure you are pro standard. And if you aren't, then hopefully you have a coach who can be like, I think you should maybe defer and wait until like a few more years and earn that pro card and then be able to compete within that timeline, because now you are of a standard. Because I don't know if something by chance I happened to turn pro in 2014 when I first competed, which would never happen. But if I did, it would have held back me massively. Like I would have just not had the time to flourish and grow. So I really like that. Generally in the UK, at least, getting a pro card, like you have to earn that, and you're not going to give it away so easily. Whereas I know it can be a bit easier in some areas to get that, and that's the only time I think it can hold someone back. Really,
I agree with that.
Although you're totally right. I suppose so. Some people will strive their whole amateur career to get that, and then if they get that, they might, once they've got it, they're done, and they just compete that one time as a pro, and that's a different sort of story, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure if you got offered the pro card and your chance to go and take part in the world finals, you're like, Andy, I'm going to go and do this, and I don't even care how I get on. I'm just going to go with this. And
I'd be taking it now at this stage.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
you suffered enough.
And that is my ultimate goal now. Like that's set up in my head. That is what I would like to achieve. Not only just because this season kind of taught me that was on the cards. Like I was close to getting opportunities to get there. So I'm like, next time, that's where I want to go.
Awesome.
My question, I guess, for you is, when one thing that I see so much for people is when they go to a world finals, it really levels them up in terms of their understanding of the levels of this sport. Like, how did you find it from an athlete's perspective, like seeing like these different guys and so on?
I found it's really interesting because it's just, as I do this more, I realize how like there's so many nuances to competing where your placing doesn't tell you everything, basically.
No,
where you could do better in one show, but you actually looked better in a different show because a different judging panel or different people turned up. And how there's so many different physiques as well. Like there's not just like bodybuilder and that's the perfect bodybuilder in your mind, because people have come in and been even better. Like we saw the guy that won the world title, like he was incredible. He
was granite.
And took it from a physique that had won the last 2 years and was, you think, like the pinnacle. So it's like there's definitely levels to it, absolutely. So it was really interesting to see it all, and I guess you can also see how I've kind of seen how big bikini and men's physique has got. Like it's just that absurd how many there are in those classes.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's popular, man.
So popular that
bodybuilding in the 21st century.
Yeah, it's an attainable look, but when you look at it at that level, you go, oh my gosh, you know, I mean, just level of detail, that's crazy, isn't it? But I think it does help you see how many different shapes come from different places, and that you can never go into a show thinking you're going to win it. You know what I mean? It's because like you just mentioned there with Bada and Kendall, I mean, I think everyone probably thought he's coming in for that top spot. And then you see the shift and you just see that Bada just took on the thickness and the conditioning. He was just a bigger guy. Nothing is what you think it might be sometimes at a bodybuilding show.
I think you appreciate how good some of these guys are when you go to that level. Like, you sort of get it a little bit. You're like, oh, that's like a pro world. That level is high. Like, and you might be doing well in your amateur rank or something like that, but it's a little bit higher up than you. And then from there, you can really appreciate that the yards that go into being that sort of level.
Yeah, I think even to be competitive in a like top 5 as an amateur is different to then being competitive at top 5 as a pro.
I can't wait, because I think I'm going to do it next year, and I cannot wait to compete against like Amador and the middleweight class, and I forget the Adair, sorry.
Yeah, Adair.
The other Spanish guy that won the middleweight, because they'll be my class. Yeah. And like, I can't wait to go up against those guys. That'll be awesome to challenge me as a competitor from there. Mm-hmm. Well, sorry, I've forgotten the guy that won the Spanish. The middleweight class's name. He had specs.
I know.
I remember the glasses. Yeah,
he was in the gym the day before, like pounding out like 8 plates on a bar row, and I was teasing. I was like, "Man, is that all you're going to lift?" I was calling him like the Spanish bull, the matador.
He was doing crazy lifts the day before. I was like, I don't know what peak plan you're on, but
he was asking me if I was going to compete. I was like, "Oh man, I am fat."
He was huge.
He was good though.
He was crazy.
He was a really good competitor. He was
pretty special when he came out. Yeah.
He had 2 Spaniards in the finals, and then a Nigerian. Like say Spain, they were really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were. That's exciting because I know also I just had Jeff Alberts on this week. He's competing next year.
Well, it's a rematch. I did.
Alberto Nunez too.
Berto's competing as well. We spoke to him yesterday, and he was talking about how he's channeling himself up for it. So. Yeah, so it's going to be all games next year. It's going to be
a special year, I think, because this year, I think you said that this year was potentially a bit of a quiet year, which makes sense. I think like Jeff literally said, he was like, he wanted to do 2020, 2021. He didn't get to do family things and life. Yeah. So took that off, and then 2022. And I think that's what a lot of people have potentially done. So I'm very excited to see everyone compete next year. And I want to stay as involved as I can, because I think, like you said, that's in terms of like competing every 2 years as a pro, it keeps you in the mix. Whereas I know you can get complacent in off seasons, and even with the best intentions, I like to think I didn't. I even think it can get in because I feel more on it than I've ever been now. And I'm like, I think that's related to the competing. So I won't leave it too long.
You do. If you keep it's like you keep your finger on the pulse, don't you? When you're in the midst and you're competing. And I love your drive now to keep pushing because of that win you took there, and the world has given you now that tangible, it's touchable, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's exciting. And yeah, I think 22 is going to be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of bodybuilders coming back on the scene that we've not seen over the last couple of years due to obviously COVID and lots of things.
And then we've got our 2 shows as well at the same time. So like I said, the first timers, and then we've got the supernaturals and another team to go out to the world.
Yeah, so we're just going to level up in all angles and make the shows even better than they have been this year. Keep leading, I suppose.
It was great to hear how much fun you had out doing that. And I said this to so many of the guys about this, that you should go and do the World Championships because it will probably be a highlight of your bodybuilding career. And I remember I said this to you, like, you might never get the opportunity to ever do it again.
Don't say that to me.
I was kind of gutted with like the number of guys that I did invite that just like, nah, I don't think I'm good enough yet. Or that. Like, I invited you because I knew you'd do well and I knew you're good enough. So like you got to take those opportunities if you're invited. You just have to, because it's so good. It's great being part of a team.
Lord, I already know a few who couldn't make it for some reasons this year, but I know a few of them who are hungry to get back on that that supernatural stage. They're really gunning for it. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be really good. I think now that people see what it's all about, and I can't wait to welcome new athletes on the stage next year. So excited about the first timers as well, to give people that first opportunity. That's something we're excited about. So yeah, roll on 22.
Yeah, I think it's important because I know for me, when you gave me the invite, I was like, if you think I'm good enough to go, I'm going. And it's important to just reiterate that, where you're not inviting just like everyone come to Worlds. Like it's a case of where you're picking people and selecting them. So if you get that invite, and coming from having just done it, and I had no expectation. I was like, if I make it into the top half of my class, I'll be happy. So then to come second, it's like unbelievable. You don't know where you could fall. So I think if anyone is listening to this and they get a Worlds invite in 2022, go. If you can, go. Absolutely.
Because Martin Lamont, who you competed against, I mean, he was 5th behind you. I think you were 4, and like he won his class, had improved from the championships. You came second in your class as well. And then none of the other guys in the middleweight, I mean, obviously Leon went on and decided to compete, and those guys would have done well. They would have done really well. But you know what? You took that opportunity and then you made it your own. You made it your season. Yeah.
Anything you want to leave the listeners with? Any kind of goals for 2022? Do you have like any tangible goals in mind? If you just beat 2021, I think you've done very well. I don't know how you can beat it, but
I think yeah, you're right. If we can just beat that would be awesome. If we could get more athletes at the finals, that would be awesome. If we could get more athletes to the World Championship, I suppose that would also be awesome. But if we could set up those other little milestones, I think that would be great. And then we would just want to continue to offer the best stages.
Yeah,
that high standard of drug testing is super important to us. And then continue to nurture the community. Yeah, I think that's what we want to do.
And yeah, I think overall, what you see with us is who we are and what we represent. So everything we emulate, speaking to you, the Instagram, everything we talk about is for. And I had a great conversation with Michael Phillips about this, but essentially is for the athletes. You know, we're fronting this to help lead it forward. But it's about you guys. Like, it's about everybody who comes and gets involved in it. So we're going to continue to try and strive to create the best experiences and give people opportunities that we've had and keep going with that. Yeah. Early stages, second year in, 2 for 2, that's what we're calling it. Double whammy. So it's the 2 shows. And I'll make them great and come and have a fantastic experience WNBF Uk stage and compete because you love it.
And I'll finally give a shout out to the NPA, the other Natural Bodybuilding Federation within the UK. Last year we had a lot of problems around shows being on same dates and so on, and we don't think it's particularly fair for the competitor, because all you guys want to compete. You're all free agents. You want to have good experiences, and the NPA guys have been super super good with us in terms of making sure that our show dates didn't clash with their show dates. We had to have lots of conversations
and
of
sharing drug
venues
testing results
and doing all that, so that you guys can have the opportunity to compete if you want to go and do another show, so you don't have to choose, because that's not fair on the competitor, I don't think. So that they were really good with us at doing that. And working out how the calendar is going to work, and hopefully we can manage to have more affiliation with the other guys in the future to be able to ensure that happens.
Just to ensure everyone has their dates open to everybody, and that there's no stopping anyone doing what they want to do. Yeah, because
without the athletes, you don't have a sport.
Yeah, totally.
Or an organisation. Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, hopefully we can get more collaborations in future, and like you said, you bring everyone up through that weight, like kind of tide coming up. So I look forward to seeing it and following the WNBF through 2022. If you're going to compete, comment below. We want to know. And definitely kind of share the podcast around, and any questions, throw them below. I'm sure you guys would be interested if there are any further questions or anything. And just massive thank you to you guys for doing such a great job from a kind of competitive standpoint. Like I said, it was the season of my life, and your shows and going to Worlds made it like an amazing year that I'll never forget. And yeah, thank you for building up natural bodybuilding. I appreciate it, and I know all the audience do too.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much. We should give some shout outs. You can find us on our Instagrams. I'm Fueled by Scott's Oats.
Steff Noble Figure Pro.
Check out the WNBF_UK. You'll find the information on there.
Yep. And a quick note on all of the information for actually registering, signing up to the events will be on the website shortly. Just keep your eyes on the Instagram for now.
Yeah, so just check it there. It'll be definitely updated in the new year once we've solidified things from there. And also check us out at Pro Prep Coaching as well. And I think that's us. Interact with the community group and everything on Facebook as well.
And just a last little shout as well, if you don't mind, Steve. Thank you to Fivos.
Thank you, big guy.
Who literally managed to get everybody's show shots out within, a 48-hour period.
Did you mean that, pun? The show shots?
No.
Sure.
I'll take that.
That's the name of his company.
He's been insane this year, and I think from a competitor standpoint, having those images,
great post.
It just helps you map out your next season and what improvements you need to make. So thank you to Ebooks, who's massively helped us there and taken some fantastic photos for all the competitors to have. So yeah, I just wanted to say that for people who haven't maybe got them, go ask them for them.
Fivos always does an outstanding job. So yeah, big shout out to them. And I can agree, getting them in good time is always helpful, because if you have another show in like a week or 2 weeks time, you kind of, the photos give you a bit of what's going on there, because phone photos often don't do enough at all.
No, you're right. And I think I wanted to say a thank you as well to our headline sponsors, CNP, who I know we haven't spoken much about today, but they'll be pretty active with us in our events throughout the year as well. So I know they've got some exciting opportunities for athletes through WNBF UK this year and next. So if you haven't already checked them out, to anybody listening, go give them a little look-see and a follow, because they'll be supporting us with the WNBF UK next year. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'll make sure that's all linked below so people can go check all that information out. And again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye, folks. Ciao, ciao.
So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Florn. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics, discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge. And I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.